Good day, YouTube. Welcome to my ham shack. My name is Captain Darren. My amateur radio call sign is N4VFR. In today's video, I'm going to show you my new HF antenna tuner right here. It's the Palstar HF automatic antenna tuner, and I'm going to show you what my setup is and how I tune it. Stay tuned. The neat feature about the Palstar HF Auto, it has 3 antenna coax inputs. So this is antenna number 1 that we're looking at here, my 05 43 foot vertical. And for antenna number 2, I have the DX Commander Classic with the inverted 80 meters and the inverted L, and that's located there on the top. And that wire goes into the trees. So those are my setup for the HF Auto. Here we are, Palstar HF Auto. Power on the unit. It's firmware version 2.39. This is the first screen you see. In order to get to the settings, you push mode. That's manual. There's bypass. And one more time, there's your setup. So when I'm running the amplifier, I changed my range to 2,500 watts. You can also select a lower range, 1,000 watts, 250 watts, and 100 watts. Now when I'm using the ICOM 7610 and I'm here at the control point and running barefoot, I'll leave it at 250. But when I'm using the amplifiers that I have, right now I have the OM 2000, I'll be running it at 2,500 watts. These auto tuners are capable of 1,800 watts, this particular model that I have here. Alright, now next is you push this wheel, and this is the tuning level. They recommend, when I say they, Palstar Corporation recommend to leave it at 1.50, because if you were to lower this and they say you want the lowest SWR as possible, okay, 1.04, and for some reason if your antenna bends or it rains and there's a little bit of SWR, and if the SWR goes greater than 1.4 that you have set here, the tuner is going to try to tune. It's going to continually try to tune, try to tune, try to tune. Now if you have this so tight, it's going to continuously tune and tune and tune, and you're not going to be satisfied. So I like to leave it at 1.5. That way you have a buffer. So that's a default setting. Push it, backlighting, that's cool. Okay, so we got dim, and we got 1 minute at high intensity, and after 1 minute it's going to time out, meaning it's going to subdue, it's going to turn dark. So when I'm away, I leave it at timeout at 2 minutes. But here at the control point, when I'm talking on the radio, I like to see the meters and the SWRs moving. So that's the backlight number 1, that's high intensity, and then number 2 is low intensity. Power up mode, you can change that from going to, when you turn on the HF Auto, it automatically starts in the auto mode, or you can automatically have it start up in the manual mode. Or you can have it power up in the bypass mode, meaning it's going to bypass the internal tuning network so that you can use your radio's built-in antenna tuner. I'm going to leave it in auto. The step speeds. Here you can change it from high, which is default, to either medium or low speeds. For example, if you have an antenna that has a very narrow SWR, an operating range, the high speed may miss the fine tuning. So it needs to, you want to slow it down so it finds a resolution for your tuning. So that's why you have low and medium. But I'm going to leave mine on high. Auto antenna switch off. If you have this on, those 3 coax, there's 3 input coax for 3 antenna inputs. You can designate like antenna 1 if you only have 1 antenna that's tuned only for 20 meters. You can use antenna 1 just for 20 meters. Antenna 2, if you have a 6-meter antenna, you can utilize antenna number 2 for 6 meters. Or 3, if you have a horizontal looped multiband, you can select antenna number 3. You can designate each band and direct it to what antenna output you want to use. I'm going to leave it off because the 2 antennas that I have are multi-band antennas. And here's your menus, your options. You can have it on and off. Let's leave it off. Okay, before we move on, let me show you deeper into the menu. Antenna, auto antenna switch, let's turn it on. So we push the tuning knob, and here, like what I was saying, if you have an antenna designated for 160 meters, you could say you assign it to antenna, for example, let's say that you have your 160 meters on antenna 3. You would select it like that, antenna 3. And then if you had 6 meters, here 6 meters is on antenna number 2. You can assign it antenna number 2, just like that. Next menu. This is the retune delay. So you have 3 options: 3 seconds, 1 second, or 2 seconds. When you're using an amplifier, after you introduce high power into the HF auto, after 2 seconds, it's going to check the SWR to see if it needs to be retuned. I'm going to leave it at 2 seconds. The power up antenna. So there's 3 ports: coax number 1, coax number 2, and coax number 3. So when you first turn on your HF auto, it's going to automatically default to whatever you have selected: coax number 1, 2, or 3. In my case, I'm going to use number 2, which is my DX commander with the 80-meter inverted L. Auto store, you want to leave that on because once you have the perfect match, it's going to save it in its memory. And that's your only options, on and off. Delay tune SWR, there's 2 settings, either on or off. So when you have it on, what's going to happen, the memories where the L and C positions are set, once it's set, then it's going to delay the tune. Basically, it's once it's set in automatic mode, it's going to set the L and C settings, and then there's going to be a little delay before the HF auto checks the SWR to see if it needs to be retuned. That's how I understand it. If it exceeds the tuning level that we had listed here earlier, tuning level 1.5, then the HF Auto will retune. And the last SWR display, on or off, it's self-explanatory, and a power display on or off. And those two, SWR and power, will be listed here. Let me show you. Right here. The peak power and the SWR. And we're going to the Mars. So this is for Mars, if you have a license to utilize it. And I think there's 2,000 memories. So I'm just going to skip that. And that's it. We're back to the main page, or the first page. And when you're done, just push mode and it goes into the auto. So what we have here, you have auto, antenna 2 is selected. You can select antennas by pushing antenna, antenna 3, antenna 1, and antenna 2. F is your frequency. For example, let me put in a carrier. You'll see the frequency come up. Here's 5 watts. So that's the frequency. Your C and L values for tuning, your peak power, and the current SWR of the last transmission, and also the power in watts of the last transmission. So it's 1.15. I can actually manually tune that to go even lower. Alright, so I'm going to introduce a little bit more power. That was 6% power. This is 10% power. I'm going to actually lower this manually. So push mode in the manual setting. I'm going to key up a tone and manual settings. It's increasing. There's 7. Push it to go to your L settings. Back to C. I mean, you can be very meticulous to this. All right, there you go. I got 9 watts of power. The SWR of the last transmission is perfect match on 75 meters. To save it, all you do is do the left arrow and it goes into the auto mode. And let me send a carrier again, this time 50 watts of power. 50% power is 53 watts from my ICOM 7610. SWR is 1.0 on this frequency. So it tuned it, no, I manually tuned it even lower, and then when I went back to the auto mode, it stored the value. It updated its memory. How cool is that, huh? Look at that. If you're OCE or OCD about this, like I am, I try to get the lowest value. Now let's go to a frequency that I have not yet tuned, and I'm going to show you the tuning process. All right, on the up here, it's not really in focus. The camera is focused on the Palstar, but you can get the idea of the frequency. Let's go to we're on 75 meters. Let's go pick a frequency that I haven't tuned yet. 3915, okay? 3.915. It's occupied. And it's occupied. So let's go 3922. 3922. I'm going to introduce a carrier. We only got 5% power, and it's an auto, and I'm going to transmit from the ICOM 7610. 3, 2, 1, now. It found a match on key. Alright, so those are your C and L settings. That's the frequency that I was transmitting on, putting out 3 watts of power, and that was a 1.24. So that's below your threshold of 1.5, so that's satisfactory. But for those guys like me that are very precise, you want the lowest SWR possible. Push mode, manual, key up, and manually adjust it. There, look at that. On key, there you go. 1.0 on the SWR. Back out with the left red arrow and retransmit. 1.08. It's very good. I'm okay with 1.08. I mean, you can just manually fine tune it if you want to, but hey, when I'm on the road and flying, I'm at the hotel room, remoting into my radio here at the shack. All these frequencies that I talk on, it's saved. For example, if I talk to the Ragchew group on 7195, and I think this is 5% power, so I'm at my hotel room, I just key up a carrier on that. Oh, wrong mode of operations. I'll go to RTTY. Key up a carrier. It's either pre-selected or it's going to find a tune. So there you go, 1.06. Now I'm going to go back to 3.922, the previous frequency that I was on, and introduce a 5% power carrier. It's going back to the saved memory. There you go. 1.02. Man, that's awesome. But for a tuner like this, it's a pretty golden penny to afford one of these. Well, that was a quick rundown of how I automatically tune, manually tune, and my setup of the Palstar HF Auto. Like I said, it's a pretty penny, a big golden nugget to afford one of these, and if they have them in stock. This bad boy, I happened to purchase the last one from one of the retailers, and another retailer has them in stock, but you're looking to pay around $1,695, $1,695, and that's MSRP. Your miles might vary. You can go to the automatic version, or you can utilize the manual version, and I do have the manual version. It's the Palstar AT2K, and if you haven't seen that video, I'll leave the link above so you can take a look at that. It's a little bit cheaper. It's smaller too. So if your desk, if your shack is small and compact and confined, maybe the manual tuner is for you. But this is not for everyone. For me, it's great because I operate remote control to my station here, and I love the fact that it automatically tunes for you and you don't have to be here at the control point. What I do wish is when you're remote, if you can control this to change from antenna 1 to antenna 2 and to antenna 3. That's so that I could switch to ask my friends to say, hey, do you copy me better on antenna 1, which is a DX commander, or do you copy me better on antenna 2, which is my DX commander? Or the other way around, antenna 1, my 05 antenna, or antenna 2, my DX commander. How about that? My name is Captain Darren. My amateur radio call sign is N4VFR. I hope you guys enjoyed my videos. If you like it, please consider to subscribe to my channel. It motivates me to make more videos for you guys. Until next time, 73s and have a great day.